Hey. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I've been having a little bit of trouble getting myself prepared to come back post-surgery for a long form video for a couple of reasons. One of them being, well, this is a little bit hard to look at. So I'm going to try not to look at myself in the camera and just look at you guys and look at my notes and talk about Sister Wives season 19. So we're going to get back into it. If it seems a little stilted or odd, I'm just out of practice because this has been a lot. So this probably will get broken up into a couple of parts, but don't worry, I'm not going to make you guys wait for forever for me to release them. I'll put them up and then I'll just set them public at appropriate intervals. Because my other goal is to try and get a video out about how all of this went and happened. Because frankly, it's kind of interesting, A, and B, not enough people know about pseudotumor cerebri, and I think it would be beneficial for more people to find out. So bear with me. I know my hair looks terrible. I know it looks bad. This is a hot mess, but I'm still under certain restrictions and have to be really careful with everything, so we'll get there. In other words, I can't use heat on my hair at all, so no hair dryer, no straightener right now, just because the risk of bumping or burning something is too great. So I just have to be careful, and it's just going to look bad for a couple videos. We'll get over it together. But are you ready, kids? I was not in season 19 happened anyway. I struggle with the childish behaviors in this episode. As we go through it, you guys are going to go, yeah, no, yeah, it's rough. I know there's going to be tons of thoughts and opinions. Y'all came here for mine, and I'm hoping you leave yours in the comments because I like to hear them. I'm definitely open for it. I like having a dialogue with you guys. So, I'm going to give them some credit here for opening up with a mention of where we are in the filming season, being October of 2022. And then they mentioned that Garrison's passing is not quite a year and a half out from where they're actually filming, which it helps to put things into context for sure, but also acknowledging that this happened is very, very, very important. It would not be okay to ignore something so monumental. And it was brief and a little bit to the point, but what I'm hoping is that the family stepped in and said, listen, this is what we would prefer. We would prefer if you were just, succinct, didn't give a lot of extraneous detail that we're not prepared to give. Please don't do that. And so I'm hoping that this was all so that Puddle Monkey wasn't violating their wishes and making what the family needs priority one. That's what my hope is. So immediately following that, they jump right into the recap from the previous season. And y'all don't think I didn't notice that the recap is just remixed bits from the last season's 2 trailers. So the original trailer and then, of course, the back half trailer that we got. Because I'm on to you, Puddle Monkey. I see it. And then the new intro. So we get the OG3 are in white. Meri looks actually fantastic in this. That like sort of cream off-white blazer, it's really doing a lot for her in my opinion. I know some people will be like, really? No, I think it works for her. Janelle looks sort of ethereal almost in a way. And Christine just looks good. Like she just looks good. She looks happy. But then we get Robin in this like deep dark navy blue that initially on my first watch through I was like, is she wearing black? No, it's navy. But I do think Cody might actually be in black. And it sort of sends this very good versus evil sort of vibe. And you can already tell, like, hey, if you're new to this, these are the villains of the show. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, I haven't watched it yet, but I've heard about Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, where they set people up as the saints and the sinners. And it's sort of like you're supposed to, sort of follow along these lines. Though my understanding is that the villain of that show is one of the saints. So if I watch it, I guess I'll catch up. But I was never into like the whole mom talk drama, so I don't know if it was worth it. I don't know. At any rate, I know that the viewers have already sort of picked out who they think the villain of the show is, but production knew this was going to send some sort of message, putting them in dark versus white. And then finally, the 3 rings drop from the eye in Wives, which was a long time coming. But we we open up this episode on the ever contentious Coyote Pass, the barren wasteland of probably usable land. Listen, I have not forgotten the chance that there is plague bacteria in the soil, and call it my OCD or my aversion to any more medical procedures for a while. But if somebody says to me, hey, the prairie dogs out here might carry the plague, I'm out. I'm just out. I'm just entirely out. But the land is, generally speaking, usable. It is still undivided, though, so it's not entirely usable for this family. And Cody's like, listen, the dream of the big polygamous family, it's shot. And he reminds us he doesn't speak to Christine. He and Janelle are separated. And, like, he stumbles into this pontificating about Meri. Do they say that they're divorced? He doesn't think so. Broski, she's the only one you're legally divorced from. Like, you go on to be like, we're not in a marriage, and I don't want to be in that marriage. Honey, that's a divorce. If you're not married any longer, it's a divorce. Like, the eyes of the court, you're divorced. Anyway, Cody's like, the feelings of the breakup with the family are raw, and he's questioning who he is without them. And part of me was like, you're the same guy that you have been for seasons. And part of me is also really hoping that maybe he's starting to reflect on these broken relationships, at least with the kids. I'm not sure, based off of some of his behaviors later, but I have hope that maybe he's doing some introspection. But he and Robin come out to stare at their open field and discuss next steps. And Cody's reminding us that there's a big payment coming due, and it's high time to figure out what to do. And Robin's like, yeah, this was a really terrible deal we signed. And when she explained it, my husband was like, that's how a mortgage works. You don't pay it off, you lose it. I was like, no. I said it, and I tried to explain it to him from my understanding. So let me break it down for anybody here who may not be familiar with the deal they signed. It is entirely possible that new people are finding sister wives just because of all of the drama. But my understanding is that they have 4 parcels of land, and at least 2 of the 4 were paid fully. But the entirety would be forfeit, and they would lose everything. All the land, all the money they've paid up to this point, if they don't pay off the rest of it in time. So it's a super simplified version. There are definitely details missing. Don't think I don't know that. But Robin is absolutely correct. It is a stupid deal. Only because they would lose the parcels that were already paid for up front. Never sign a deal where you pay in full for something and then lose it because of something stupid. Sorry, just don't do it, guys. But Cody points out that this is where Robin's home would be if she built. And he's regaling us with his side of the story of Christine's house sale. Listen, we've gone over it 4,000 times since season 17, 18, 17. I don't know. I don't care, actually, at this point anymore. We know he thinks she should not have been allowed to keep the equity in her home in exchange for the land. We're already aware. I think it's a reasonable offer, and frankly, she didn't have to offer him a thing in the eyes of the courts because his name was already off of her home. He didn't own it legally. So Cody asks Robin, do you still want to build? And she does not answer him directly. She simply looks at him and shoots back at, don't you? Girl? He sounds near to tears when he goes, I don't know. And he shares this was such a dream for their family, and he thinks it's over. He doesn't know if it's over, but he thinks it's over. He does know and cannot admit to himself, this was not a family dream. That this dream, the dream would have been what they had in Vegas, in reality. And I cannot understand why they were willing to give all of that up for this plot of land in Arizona where they had nothing connecting them to it. And don't get me wrong, I want nothing more than a plot of land, a space to farm veggies, a Highland cow. But that's my dream. It's not my husband's dream. It's not my family's dream. And I'm not going to, bully them into telling people that it is their dream. But I will say it now, and I'm going to take my lumps. In this conversation with Robin, Cody is in the right. He is the correct one in the conversation. And he explains his understanding of the dynamics as things are now. We're not a family. We're more like people who own property. They're still connected, if estranged. Can you please stop? Thank you. He's kicking me. Thank you. Oh, I forgot. This is Graham. He's my co-host. But for all intents and purposes, they are still a family. They're still connected in some way, shape, or form. But he is gentle but firm while trying to explain, Meri is not coming out here to live with us. That's not happening, Robin. she's not going to join them on Coyote Pass. But Robin, ever living in the land of bunnies and butterflies, says, well, I didn't think Meri sounded like she'd never be out here. Meri broke up with you on this land, explaining she's going back to Utah. You haven't divided anything, and frankly, even if you do, I'm not sure she's going to get rights to her own property. I don't know how else to explain that. Let me sit up just a little bit more. So then we see Meri for the first time. And this camo cardigan is a choice because it's not a print that I would put on a cardigan. Now, maybe that's just a me thing. I like solid colored cardigans. So maybe I'm boring. Maybe that's the problem. I don't do a printed cardigan. But it's been about a week since the official breakup, Meri says. So this confessional, if accurate, was filmed quite some time ago. And it is possible that that is the case based off of the set being Flagstaff behind her. And I would think that eventually she would want to have a space in Utah similar to Christine. She wouldn't necessarily want to be coming back to Flagstaff to do these. But then again, she also looks significantly thinner, significantly healthier than she looks in the breakup. So probably not. She probably did come back to Flagstaff for these. But we get the flashbacks of the conversation, which, yeah. So Meri shares that even though he's been pulling away emotionally for a decade, nothing's actually changed, even though they've broken up. They still have their spiritual marriage intact. So she shares that she intends to have that terminated. And while she doesn't want to be bound to somebody eternally, who doesn't want her? And listen, I've never been LDS, but I understand the importance in their belief that eternal marriage is like the ideal, the goal. So it's a huge step for her to want to go through the church and sever that. It also leads me to believe that she still believes, at least in basic LDS theology, if not in the AUB theology. I could be entirely incorrect, but why would you go to the church to sever this if you didn't still have some belief, right? Hard to say. But Cody tries once again to be very realistic with Robin, and she is refusing to live in the same space as the rest of us. He's trying to explain that if he and Robin build there, Meri is never going to want to live there. And Robin says, you never know, over and over again, to interrupt him and speak over him. And I will give him credit because I would have been way more harsh trying to explain this to her. I would have probably looked her dead in the eye and been like, she broke up with you. She does not want to be here with you. Like, because she broke up with both of them. Let's be serious. She broke up with Cody, but she also broke up with Robin. That was a thing that happened. But he admits that Coyote Pass is just this source of pain for him. And I'm sure that it is. But we get Meri again sharing her side of the story, that she was led to believe if she came to Flagstaff, it would be a new beginning for them. And where have we heard that before? It certainly doesn't sound like a date that he took Christine on for her birthday or anniversary, I wish I could remember which one, to convince her to move. Anyway, Cody counters that as he tried to make that relationship work, he questioned why he'd even bother. He's like, I wouldn't court her or date her now. And so Meri's like, then why did you marry me? But Robin is still having these visions of her home alongside Janelle's and Meri's, but it does sound like she's let go of the idea that Christine is joining them. And Christine joins in, and she says, listen, when I originally thought about leaving Cody, I had all these fears of being single at 50. That has not come to fruition. And she started to date, and she's really enjoying it. Other than to show that Christine is really out, I'm not sure why this fits in here. But Cody is sharing how discouraged he is. And Robin's countering that he and Janelle could still figure things out. And she encourages him to just keep trying. And honestly, I think Robin is doing so much more harm than good here. Cody needs to be able to share his feelings and vent and come to terms with reality. And I think he has come to terms more with reality than Robin has. And he's being very realistic about the prospects of Coyote Pass moving forward, that either they need to divide it, they need to sell it, they need to something. But Robin is refusing to let this go, causing significantly more pain and heartache every time she pushes him to try to fix it. None of the ladies are in a place where they're going to return to their previous lives. And unfortunately, fix-it time has long since passed there, Fix-It Felix. And Robin needed to do some fixing herself. We know from Meri and Janelle that Robin isolates herself and her kids by not reaching out, not really making an attempt to keep relationships going. Continually pushing Cody to work on it only serves to make Cody and herself unable to move forward in any healthy fashion. And the first step to fixing some of these problems and at least allowing them to meet as a family with significantly less awkward tension would to be to allow everything to be let go. Let all of that fall to the side. Don't keep forcing things. Let it go. But Janelle pops in to say she is finding a lot of peace in her new life. And Cody's telling Robin that, I wish I was in your place. I wish I could see it the way that you see it. And she's like, I don't know how to let it go. You let it go a long time ago, in my opinion, Robin. Even if you don't think so, this over-isolation of your smaller part of the family has led to a lot of the heartache that you're having today. And I understand caution and concern in the face of a health crisis, but it started well before that. It started significantly before that. And she makes this claim she committed 100% of herself to the family. If I'm being honest, based off of having watched this from day one, when the show started, to now, at best I can say Robin probably gave about 75% of herself to this. There was definitely at least a quarter that she held back all to her own. But Cody's trying to be super honest with her, and he's like, listen, I'd either scrap it or sell it, talking about Coyote Pass. And she just shuts down. She will not talk about it because she's just not in that same place, she says. And personally, I think that this is kind of code for, I'm not going to discuss this with you on camera. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe she's really attached to this very specific piece of land. But it feels like I'm not going to talk about this on camera. We're not having this fight kind of thing. So he throws back to her, I can't talk anymore about reconciliation. And for him, it doesn't sound like just tossing it offhandedly. Like, you won't talk to me, I'm not going to talk to you. It sounds like he's very sincerely saying, we can't have that talk anymore. That it's not real. I don't think he's wrong. I think his desire to stop talking about reconciliation as like a foregone conclusion is a good one. Because he wants to discuss the reality of their future and his actual feelings about this plot of land that's been such a point of contention for so many years. But Robin is just rubbing in all these dashed dreams of this family standing on this land, telling him that he still has to fix it and bring back these women, and it's not real. Robin does say that someday she feels like the idiot that doesn't know how to let it go. And I am not going to use the word idiot. Control freak, perhaps. And I'm a control freak, so I'm not shading her for wanting control. She had a particular plan, and part of me really thinks she thought she was able to sort of treat this all like her Barbie dream house, the Barbie dream fantasy. She could try and direct all of her Barbies into the places that she wanted or needed them to be in order to fit into her ideal plan. The problem was that Cody spent way too much time away from everyone else, and they lost that desire to have him there and probably a lot of respect for him. And once that's gone, it does not matter how many strings you pull once the puppet is no longer attached. And I don't think she's an evil genius. I think she overplayed her hand based off of this idea that everyone still held the same feelings and beliefs that they once did, and definitely forgot to make sure they were all still playing the same game. She's over here playing chess, but everyone else is playing poker, essentially. But Cody reflects on the one home idea, and he's like, maybe it was just selfish. Maybe I was just being selfish. And Robin's like, no, you just wanted your family together. So he wonders if that was the catalyst for everyone, including him, to realize things were falling apart. And Janelle's like, listen, this is what broke my shelf. She doesn't use those words exactly, so if you're unfamiliar with the phrase, it's this idea that when you hold on to something so deeply, a belief you're willing to hold on to so deeply, when someone challenges it, you're willing to put things on the shelf so that you don't have to talk about it. You don't have to look at it. It's the shelf of things you're questioning. But eventually, too much stuff gets piled on the shelf and the shelf breaks. And for Janelle, that's when Cody's relationship broke down with her kids, and she didn't see him prepared to move heaven and earth to try and fix it. And that was the one thing that was still holding her there. But Cody tells Robin, listen, I hate spoiling your dream. So I still have visions of what I thought we would build. I don't know if he means that sincerely, or if he really truly is just like, I hate spoiling things for you, so I'm going to tell you what I think you need to hear. I'm also unclear, does he mean one big house he still thinks about? Or does he think about Robin's home specifically, or about the whole family being there? Like, I don't understand exactly what he's saying, but I think it's vague in order to try and keep Robin feeling good. He goes on to tell her, much more bluntly, that she's being absolutely unrealistic to think that Meri is ever going to want to live out there with them. And he's right, because why in the world would she? Why would she want to rub their relationship in her own face like that every single day? And he says, I don't know how Meri fits into the family, because I don't fit into the family. I've been effing excommunicated from my own family. Nice, okay? Whatever. He says he has his marriage and his kids with Robin and this infrequent relationship with some of the other kids, and he doesn't know what to do with it because it doesn't feel like a family. But a lot of that, in my opinion, is on him. His kids don't need to chase him around to give him attention so that he will give them attention. They have their lives, and in some cases, their own kids and marriages. And listen, I'm an adult, obviously. But there are days where I feel like I can be chasing my parents for their attention when I need their help. And it does sort of suck. Now, the biggest difference is that, including the in-laws, there are 7 of us. And there are going to be times when more than one of us need my mom and dad. And as I was going through all of this, 2 of the other 6 were going through their own health things where they needed my mom and dad. And their plate was entirely full because at least one of us doesn't live close. And so if my parents' plate can be so full with 7 adult children who still occasionally need their help and their attention, imagine that with nearly triple the people in the family. I mean, you have to be intentional, and Cody definitely struggles with intentionality. But Meri comes in to tell Cody, go love Robin. Love her the best you can. But be effing honest with me. So we're getting a lot of swearing right off the bat. But we're going to hop, skip, and a jump right on over to Utah because Christine is throwing a baby sprinkle for the twins. And Mykelti is 30 weeks along, and I remember those days. Making it to 35 was rough. And she says 34 weeks is the goal. And I don't know if different doctors have different goals, but I know my doctor, his ultimate goal was 37 weeks. I didn't make it to 37. And that was his perspective on best timeline for lowest likelihood of a NICU stay. And in fact, we stayed in the NICU until the girls would have been 37 weeks. So I do see his point. But I just don't know if other doctors have other perspectives on what the timeline for twins is. Because I've felt guilty for years that I didn't make it to 37. So, but this sprinkle is gambling themed, essentially. And my view of a sprinkle has always been that it's pretty low key. So this feels more like an all out baby shower to me. But I also see on social media that Utah moms tend to go all out on a lot of things. So maybe that's sort of a cultural difference between the Midwest mom and the Utah mom, because a lot of our stuff can be a little bit more scaled back. Maybe, I don't know. Or maybe it's just the Instagram culture of it all, and I am outside of that bubble. But Christine clarifies the theme as sort of double down, and that it's a blackjack thing. And I guess it is, but we use it for a lot of stuff. And Aspen's like, someone's going to need to teach me how to play. And Mykelti goes, can you count to 21? That's how you play. You know what? Sure. She would never need to know what kings, queens, jacks, aces, any of that do, because that will never come up. I am dead sure of it. But they have quite a lot of guests coming to this sprinkle shower. That's what I'm going to call it. And she points out that Janelle was invited, but not able to come, and then very pointedly says Meri was not invited. Girl, we get it. You and Mykelti have a very contentious relationship with Meri. We understand. Don't make it seem petty. You are a better Christine when you are the kinder Christine. But Meri pops up to say, I haven't told Janelle and Christine that Cody and I are over. I don't know if anybody else has, but I didn't feel like it was necessary for me to tell them. And fair enough. Christine's like, I would do anything for Mykelti. And Mykelti wants Cody and Robin there, so they're invited. And she speculates that Robin's going to be at the twins' birth. Now, we are far enough advanced in real life that we know that she in fact was. But she admits to being nervous and saying this is her first time seeing them since she left. Nope. They show us the knife and the kidneys fight, but we all know that was not the last time. There was the awkward goodbye party, followed by the snowblower incident. And while we thank you for the fan service, that was not accurate. Also, Christine's like, the last time Cody saw me, we were very angry at each other. But that's not even the case, because if they mean with Robin there, that was the goodbye. But then we also had the lunch where Cody called Christine mean, and he wasn't extremely angry then. He wasn't exactly thrilled or whatever, but he was at least polite. But I get it would be awkward to be all together again. Everyone's being so nervous. I mean, it's kind of silly. Cody says when he sees Christine, there's a lot of animosity and it embarrasses him because he thinks it's childish, but he does feel it. And I give him props for not only recognizing that it is childish, but also admitting that he does feel it. Because Christine's like, we should be taking bets on if we all get along. Also childish. This whole thing is going to be just me explaining why I think it's childish. Because the weird standoff, the long explanations about, oh, I'm not going to go say hi, and I didn't talk to her because blah, 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 blah. Guys, come on, you're adults. With adult children. These are grandbabies that are coming. And Robin needs to let go of this. She said she didn't want a relationship with me and my kids. It's old, it's tired, and you have been raked over the coals enough times for it. We all heard her ask for space, and you took it how you did because you didn't attempt a relationship with Christine either. Honestly, my opinion is that Robin holds on to this narrative that Christine doesn't want a relationship with her so that she doesn't have to be feeling guilty about her lack of an attempt for a relationship with Christine. Maybe I'm wrong. My opinion. But, of course, we're in Salt Lake, so our B-roll is Mormon temples, or LDS temples, I guess is how you're supposed to say it now. I'm not in the circle, so I'm not 100% sure. But just in case we forgot, we know we're in Salt Lake City. So watching Aspen's body language makes me feel uncomfortable because I'm hoping it's an edit that makes her look like she's trying to run interference for her mom. But she looks a touch awkward. Like, she looks like she's looking over her shoulder constantly, trying to watch out. But also, can anyone explain to me why Robin is carrying around what looks to be like 1 or 2 pound weights? Like, is she trying to secretly get super buff and has to do her workouts in the car? Like, no days off, am I right? You know, Aspen gives her a hug, and it doesn't look like she doesn't want her stepmother there. Like, she looks completely fine with them being there. But Christine says that as much as Mykelti wants to have her father and Robin there, all of her kids want to have a relationship with their dad. And she goes as far to say that she wants to have a great relationship with their dad, and even Robin. But I'm not going to sugarcoat this, because I think that all the parents in this situation are being super childish on this particular day. No one wants to interact. And listen, we get Christine at one table, Cody and Robin at the other, with the kids are just constantly glancing over their shoulders to make sure that everyone is fine. That doesn't give strong relationship at all. But I know I brought it up already how Robin's super stuck on the you don't want to be my friend narrative, but this is where she brings it up specifically and says she wants any relationship she can get, but it takes 2. Okay, she's not wrong that it takes 2, but she has to be aware of how that's going to come off to the audience because it sounds super hypocritical from the person who we have been told does not pursue relationships to begin with. And Christine says she does notice the separation of the 2 different tables, but she's not going over there to say hi. How's it going? Because that's disingenuous. Because she isn't going to be friendly. That is so super childish to me. This is the father of your children. You need to play nice for the sake of those children. You claim you want them to have a good relationship with their father, but they're going to take some of these cues from you, whether you like it or not. She doesn't have to call them on weekends and just chit-chat, but you do need to be kind in front of your children. Cody, on the other hand, thinks that Christine is in a good place because she moved out, she moved on. But he and Robin are in a struggle place. And it makes it sound like Robin would be happier if she moved out, moved on. That's like how that comes across. But Robin admits this is the worst things have ever been in their marriage. And I believe it because Cody has always had the chance to escape from his problems before. But we watched them go back and forth on Coyote Pass with Robin refusing to acknowledge the reality that things are truly over with the other women. And he has no way to speak to someone and vent. And I know Robin would prefer to believe that Cody is sabotaging their relationship. But in my opinion, it's actually Robin. She refuses to live in that same reality with Cody and keeps pushing him to make up with Janelle. And I want to say, oh, she's just looking for a way out. But I'm not sure that's the case. I don't think she wants to leave Cody, but I do think she would like people to see him as the villain of this series and definitely not herself. I believe they're miserable. I'm willing to believe that entirely. But I think it's because Cody is looking to move forward and to heal in whatever way he thinks he should, up to and including selling Coyote Pass and finding a new path forward. Her assessment is he's looking to her to be like, are you going to reject me? And that could be true, but more likely, in my opinion, is he actually feels a level of rejection from her already because she appears to want the other wives back more than she worries about his own feelings. So Robin's telling us how she misses the family experiences and the camaraderie she had with her sister wives, and the shot they give us is Meri just staring into the distance while holding Robin's hand after the breakup. That does not show the relationship that Robin describes, but it was a great piece of television from Puddle Monkey. And she says, this thing with Meri, meaning the breakup and the moving, has made it worse and harder. I fail to see how, honestly. Meri was not a big part of either Robin or Cody's lives by her own assertion, and last season was the most we had seen them together in quite some time, honestly. Robin's also hoping that Janelle will stick it out and figure it out with Cody. But Janelle has figured it out. She's done. She's ready to move on. Robin complains there's no resources for someone married to a man going through divorces. And I would argue that if you were closer to the other AUB members and your church, there actually might be with them. Cody says that he loves Robin. She's dear to him. He respects her dearly. Clearly, he would like to give her continued praise that he is good more credibility. But of course, 3 other people have been blaming him for the breakup of their marriages. And he explains that the experience of the 3 breakups has made him not lose his faith so much, but be so angry he can't look at himself in the mirror and be like, hey, dude, I love you. I've never said that to myself in the mirror. That's an odd thing to me. Maybe other people do it. Maybe I should. Maybe some words of affirmation would be helpful. But he also feels like he can't go to God and ask for help with this whole mess. And I know that feeling of, I can't go to God with this, because whatever it is that's on your heart seems too heavy, too big. So I think I should remind the other believers out there that that's never true. Nothing is ever hidden from God. You can just go. There's no point in pretending that something isn't real, that he doesn't already know. Cody is human, and it is human to feel that way. And I'm glad he does tell us that he does take it to the Father, lay it down, if only for the sake of his own sanity. Because he obviously can't talk to his wife. So if he can't take it somewhere, he does admit that his prayers have changed over time, from less of a thank you for my beautiful family. He doesn't say what they've changed into, but in all reality, that's his own private business. His faith is his own private business. So we're going to hop back over to the sprinkle, and there is just this pointless conversation about cakes in the kitchen. And I'm recalling the graduation party where Cody was asking for gluten-free options. So when Christine keeps saying over and over that the carrot cake is gluten-free, she uses my gluten-free recipe, it feels a little bit passive-aggressive. Almost like, don't talk to me or my daughter about these cakes. That one's gluten-free. Y'all can eat that. That probably is not necessarily the exact intention, but that's how it comes across. And I really wish we could have gotten a lot less of a petty Christine for this party, because I'm all for her having her feelings. I'm all for her having the space to have those feelings. This was not the appropriate venue. This is a different woman from the strong woman who claimed to be over it in the last season in that lunch where she said to Cody, you're not over it yet. You can't just laugh and move on. That was a very strong Christine. And I really hate to say it, but I am not here for party petty. I'm just not. Also, watching Mykelti fling that knife about gave both my husband and I a panic. Girl, put down the giant knife, please. She's scaring me. But Christine says that seeing Cody and Robin at the party, she realizes that they're the outsiders, not her. And of course they are. This isn't their space. They are in Arizona with other people. You've asked them to come to Utah, and I understand it's to Mykelti's home, but you've asked them to come to Utah into a space that could potentially be hostile. And I am glad that you realize it, but I like the kind, warm Christine way better than whatever this is. But Cody admitting that he doesn't want to talk to or see Christine is fine, and he's at least being honest. According to sources online that I could find, which were, to be honest, Reddit, but also Christine said last season that these couch confessionals are usually filmed about 3 months prior to the airing of the episodes, which would put us somewhere around June or July. And so everyone's still dealing with a lot. They're dealing with a lot at that point. And so I think it's easy to see why there's so much anger here. This continued idea, though, that Cody's being trashed by his wives to the media because, they have to be trash talking to his kids, it's a little silly. I can see where there have been some petty posts by Christine, and she's been eager to share how happy she is now, but her happiness does not always equal pettiness. I don't think she is actively pushing her children away from Cody, and I really don't see it from Janelle. Janelle's been very firm in her point that her kids were the entire reason for her choosing to leave. Her children deserve better, and I see her advocating for better treatment for her children whenever this topic of their divorce comes up. Meri could go either way. Some days she seems really reserved and unwilling to say, not inappropriate, but unkind things. And other days, she's a little bit more outspoken about her anger, her hurt, her frustration. But I've never seen her take any of that to her own child. Only to social media, her friends. She tends to be more real with them. Also, all of these kids are adults other than Truly and able to make up their own mind. And even Truly is old enough to be able to see things and make a decision. So when Christine says she's going to do whatever she can to facilitate a good relationship with Cody and her kids, I do think that would have been helped by showing some grace at this party, because the kids seem on edge here. And Robin shares she knows the rules and would never badmouth the kid's mother to them. She tends not to do the media thing. So I can't verify if she does say things, if she doesn't say things. She certainly isn't making petty posts online. She's not doing interviews. I can say that she had a lot to say about her kid's bio dad back in the day, and I'm not here to pass judgment on whether what she said was accurate or inaccurate, but it was said and the kids did hear it. So you have to make your own assumptions from there. Cody says he feels almost manic trying to put on this happy face because he's super excited for Tony, Mykelti, and the babies. Of course he is, but his heart's breaking. And given the timeline for filming, if in fact these were filmed this year in, say, June, he is probably very emotional watching all of this back. Christine says that being in the same space as Robin and Cody, it's just going to happen sometimes. She said they're going to be in the same space. And Cody's sharing the failure of this whole experience, and he's choking up. He's like, I'm going to grow up. I'm going to put on my big boy panties. You know I am. And he goes on to say that there was this dream of Camelot, and it could have been blown away by a whisper, but they got strong, and then it just fell apart. And watching him with the thought of, wow, if these couch scenes were only about 3 months ago, you can see how much pain he's in. He's trying to say so much while still maintaining the illusion that this was all filmed such a long time ago. And I can't help but feel for him because he just lost his son. And now he's being asked to rewatch times where he could have made different choices. He could have done something differently. It's like show Cody and couch Cody are two different men, and they are living very different lives at this point. And I'm going to end the first part of this here because it's already getting kind of long, and that's sort of a good spot. And we'll hop back in and talk about the rest of this in a different video. Like I said, I do intend to make a video to talk about all of this and how it went down and what happened and all those different things. So if you're interested in that, be on the lookout for it because it is kind of a neat thing. I don't remember any of it. I was asleep, but it was kind of neat. So I'll pause this one here. I'm going to get a drink because I could use some water. And then we'll hop back in and do another video so that we can finish up the rest of this episode. Bye, guys.